Hey guys, welcome back. So I don't know about where you are, but here where I am in Vancouver, it's been a little colder than usual lately. I mean, it's January, but I feel like it's a little frostier than usual, but the air has been very dry. So my plants that are living in ambient have been crisping up. I'm certainly crisping up. My skin is not having a good time. So it stands to reason that the tropical plants are getting a little bit crispy on the edges. So for this week's video, I wanted to do a growth updates video, but I wanted to focus on plants that have managed somehow to grow a nice leaf lately. And surprise, surprise, most of them live in my tent where they don't actually know that it's winter. But I recognize that a lot of my favorites end up being in my videos very often. So I wanted to do a then versus now, which I haven't done in a while. But if you haven't seen this before, I'm sure you have, but I've done a few of these in the past where I just kind of dig back as far back as I can and find footage of preferably when I first got the plant and then show you what it looks like now. There's always a bit of a story as to how I obtained it in the first place, but I can also talk to you about how I've been growing it up until now. So it's like a growth comparison video, kind of like also a favorites video at the same time. And I have, I think 7 or 8 plants to show you. Any more than that, and I think my computer would have a meltdown because for every single one of these plants, I have to add footage to my project. And after 8 plants, I think my computer would just disintegrate. Also, for that one person who requested this format, this is for you. I haven't planned on doing this format in a long time. I think I kind of forgot about it, but it's actually kind of fun to edit and kind of look back because I actually haven't looked back on my videos to see what it looked like then. Like I have a picture in my mind and that's all I'm going off of. So for that one person, thank you for the suggestion. So the first one I wanted to show you is the only one, I believe. Let me double check my list. Yes, it is the only one that lives in ambient. And if you know my background, you'll know what plant is missing. And that is my Anthurium minahasae, which I got from Cartel down. I think it was September 2023. So a year and October, November, December, 4 months. 16 months ago I got this. So Eric from Cartel had sent me, I think it was like 5 or 6 plants at the time. This plant was by far the largest plant in this shipment, and everything else I believe was bred in-house, but the minahasae was propagated by stem cutting. So at the time, I know that Cartel was only propagating by cutting for this plant, and I think at this point they are breeding with it. I don't know if they've like crossed 2 minahasaes together, so if you see like little baby plants of minahasae, it might not be exactly this one. It might be showing different characteristics, so I can't speak to what they currently have, but at that point, they were only doing cuttings. Even at such a small size, I really loved the bold veins and I just loved how like almond shaped. And I think they just looked really symmetrical. It just had a really pleasing symmetry to it. And I really loved how thick and leathery the leaves are. I really remember the texture of it. I found that they were a little bit thicker and just like a little bit juicier, not juicy, leathery, and like got that like nice thick suede texture that I think it was a little bit thicker than a regular crystallinum. I think I singled this one and also the Dark Phoenix Ralphinum Fort Sherman hybrid as my favorites from that whole batch, but right now I can safely say this was my favorite plant out of that whole shipment. I love it so much that I literally put it on t-shirt. Like it's front and center. That's my minahasae. So here's what it looks like now. It typically lives right there. So that's what this empty gap is. The leaf that is on my t-shirt is this one. It is a little bit of crisp on the tips. And this is the newest leaf. It has been growing quite slow this winter, which is fine because I just wanted to concentrate on these berries. This has been pollinated with Carla, which is this plant right here. And this is what's been happening with a lot of my Anthurium. I'm just not going to read into it too much. I'm going to make sure I can still see healthy roots, which I still can. And I'm trying not to let them ever dry out. Not even like 90%, 80%. I just wanted to keep it at like 50% at least minimum. Because if we're getting to the point where like my skin is feeling like just that taut, dry, like gross, like stripped feeling, then an Anthurium is going to be needing to take up a lot of water to try to battle this kind of thing. And it's not that bad. We can kind of overlook it a little bit. So when I first got this plant, I planted it up in pond and no drainage. And by pond, I mean Lechuza pond mixed with coarse perlite and orchiata, and it acclimated beautifully. I remember the first leaves on it, I was like so mesmerized by the emergent leaf because the margin was such a bold, vibrant hot pink, but it was kind of like a thicker margin. And I remember it being a lot more vivid than other velvet leaf anthuriums, which often will have a margin that's different to like the leaf blade color. But I just remember the minahasae being like, just wow, like it looked like someone made a bold outline around it, which was very, very lovely. And I think I really just fully like deeply fell in love with this plant when this leaf grew out, the one that I put on the t-shirt, because all this inner silver venation started coming out. And you guys know I love Anthurium when it has all that, like red crystallinum has that a lot. These little lightning bolt looking flecks. The newest leaf definitely has it. It's getting a lot more veiny. And overall the leaf shape is just like very tidy. It's a little bit elongated, but the lobes are not huge. They slightly overlap. They're a little bit round. And I find that the minahasae, I'm assuming it has to be some sort of complex crystallinum hybrid. There's probably a little bit of magnificum mixed in there because everything has a bit of magnificum mixed in there when it's no ID. But I just find it's always very symmetrical, very handsome, and it's been doing fine in ambient. I'm gonna just take a quick reading on what the humidity is in right now. My LTH meter is reading 40%, which honestly is higher than I thought it was, because when I tell you I need to exfoliate every day to not be like a crusty mess, I'm actually pretty surprised it's only 40%, which means you guys know I don't really fuss with like humidity in the ambient side of the room. It must be like 50 to 60% on average, like between spring and summer and fall maybe. But on top of the crisping, we're getting a lot of stuck leaves and stuck inflows apparently. But anyway, I highly recommend this plant. I mean, mine is from Cartel. I think a lot of Indonesian sellers will sell this, but I know they are selfing it, and not all minahasae are created equal. If you're able to see it in person, and I feel like the texture is the main thing for me, on top of like the darkness of the leaf, but do you see, it's kind of bumpy. So maybe you can also buy it from a seller who has propagated their plant, which was obtained in that era of Cartel. I don't know. I haven't seen these for sale often. And when I do, I know it's one of those like sellers that imports from Indonesia that are coming in like 50 at a time, which I don't believe are stem propagations. So there's going to be variability. So like I said, this one is growing berries. Here is what the inflow looks like. It is receptive right now. I just don't remember if it's like just finishing up being receptive or if it's so dry the stigmatic fluid is just drying up. I don't really know. I didn't pollinate this one. So right now it is in a 5-inch pot. It's not massively filled this out, but I do notice that this one drinks pretty heavily, as in this one needs more watering than other plants potted in the same size pot. So I'm not going to mess with it right now since it's making berries. Okay, next up is a plant that I got in, I want to say January or February of last year. So I've had it for a year now. I've talked about this plant so much on my channel, and it's what I call the Contaminated Carla. So I think this was around 2 years ago. NSC Tropicals was selling a batch of Carla Blackier seedlings. My friend Jose was buying a lot from the States at that time, and he bought one, and over time, a lot of people were realizing that this is not a pure Carla. So that batch had been contaminated. Definitely a lot of people got pure Carlas. Some people got what I got, which is a contaminated Carla, which means that the pollen parent is unknown. I mean, I have guesses as to what it is, but it's definitely like, there's no way of knowing. Enid doesn't know. She did offer refunds to anyone who got one of these plants. Jose was offered the same deal of like return the plant, get a full refund, but he decided he liked it too much and he just wanted to keep it. And I am very lucky he did, because when he moved to Australia, he sold off his whole collection and I was able to buy this plant from him. When I first got it, it was planted in a 4-inch pot in straight up lechuza pond. And that's how Jose was growing the majority of his collection. It was a little crispy. There was one leaf, at least I think one, where like the whole bottom half of the leaf was crispy and brown. I remember shortly before he sold off his collection, he had been in Australia for a few weeks, and so someone was helping him water, but the way he had planted his plants in pond is like treating pond like soil. So it's not like in no drainage with a reservoir. His style was to water it through and not keep a reservoir. So in the time he was gone, they weren't getting enough water. So some plants crisped up. So it was like pretty. It was a pretty plant, but it wasn't pristine. And so when I first got it, I planted it immediately into tree fern soil. So I got it out of pond into tree fern soil. It rooted beautifully. And here is what it looks like now. And it's put out this beautiful leaf, which I hope doesn't get blown out. It is kind of getting blown out, but it is such a beautiful plant. It's also, it also made it onto this t-shirt. It's right here. This plant is such an easy grower. Like it roots like no tomorrow. It freaking loves tree fern soil. It's flowered for me, I think 3 or 4 times. And this one I just selfed. And I don't know if it kind of turned purple, which I don't know if it's a good sign. Like usually when it turns like hot pink, purple, orange, it can be a sign of the inflow dying, but some plants will have a purple spadix when it's actively growing berries. So you never know. It is getting a little fatter. I just don't know if it took, but I do plan on using this pollen on something else. So when this plant grows a new leaf, it is like the most beautiful burgundy red. And then the veins are kind of like a baby pink. The camera really wants to wash this plant out. And when it's nearly hardened, the leaf will be really dark like this, but the veins will be pink. So the leaf that made it into the t-shirt is this leaf. I'm just gonna pop a photo of when that leaf was like just hardening off. It was so pretty. The colors on this plant, and also just like the really soft undulating puff that it is. Like it's so round, and like it reminds me kind of pita bread. When you just look at that smooth, shiny pita bread and you just want to eat it. It definitely has a Carla growth pattern, but I would say maybe not as spready as a Carla. I do appreciate that the petioles are not that long, because if they all spread really, really wide like crystallinum, this would not fit into my tent and it would be kind of a nuisance to grow. So it does keep nice short petioles like Carla Blackier, and the petioles do go horizontal as you can see, but they don't go downwards, as you will see very soon. This is in one of the largest clear pots that I own. So I am trying to see where I can get 12-inch clear pots for like not crazy prices. I don't want to order 1,000 at a time, and I don't want to pay like $40 per pot. So I'm like half waiting for enough friends to say they want it, or for a Canadian retailer to start selling them for cheaper. But I do want that to happen sometime this year. Maybe like if this takes after the berries are done, so maybe sometime in like late spring, summer. The Carla gestation period for me, in my only time pollinating my wooo-one self, I'm pointing right here because it's sitting right here, spoiler alert, it was just over 2 months, and it wasn't even 2.5 months. It was so freaking fast. So I have a feeling if this takes and it is producing berries, it will take maybe around 3 months. It honestly depends on what the pollen parent was, and my guess is that it was pap, and pap is pretty fast too. Like I think my pap was like 3 to 4 months. And before I put it down, I just want to show you the back of the leaf, which is just baby pink, like just the blushiest little infant pink. It's so cute. If I had done a roundup of like my top plants of 2024, which I didn't, it's too late now, this plant would have definitely been on it. Like this is one of my favorite acquisitions maybe ever. Okay, since I already spoiled that we're doing Carla next, the Carla wooo-one self. So this one was sent to us by Paulina and Josh, and it was October of 2023. So a year and 3 months. In the past, we've done tortilla slap videos where we like slap each other with tortillas, and whoever spits water first loses, and that person gets to pick the first plant. Like when we get a shipment of plants where there's one of each plant and we have to divide it amongst ourselves. Except for this time we did a harmonica challenge because Charmaine was pregnant at the time, and I just didn't feel great about striking a pregnant woman. So we did like tickling each other, and whoever made a harmonica sound loses.
Oh my god. Why did I freak so hard? I was like, oh, I got you. And then I was like, oh wait, it's coming from mine.
And I won the Carla. I didn't think that it was a real, like a pure Carla. I was like, they wouldn't send us that, but they did. And it was like so cute. It was at the size where it was like just past seedling size. So it was starting to size up, and it was at the point where it was gonna start exponentially sizing up. So when you have a seedling, oftentimes like the first few leaves, like yeah, maybe it grows a little bit bigger of a leaf each time, but you get to this size and it just starts to explode with growth, and you'll see like much more exponential increase in leaf size. So basically they sent me the plant at a point in its life for maximum enjoyment. And honestly, it grew so well and so fast and so vigorously that I think it set me up for false expectations on how easy Carlas were and how fast they would grow. Because at this point I have 1, 2, 6, 5, 6. I have 6 Carlas. This is by far the fastest and most robust one. And here is what it looks like now. It's not looking incredible, but this new leaf is so pretty. It's super floppy. That's why it's kind of curving back a little bit. And the older leaves are kind of yellowing off a little bit, like this one for sure. There's one behind it here that's yellowing off. I'm mainly chalking that up to it just having done a whole batch of berries. I think I harvested like over 100 berries off of it. And I did try to pollinate it again last November, right before I went on holiday. I put the NSE Contaminated Carla pollen on this. It did take for 3 weeks or so, and then it started to die off, and that batch of berries was not to be, but I do plan on trying again with this one. So if this one opens in time before that pollen becomes not viable anymore, I'll give it a try. This is what I mean by the Carla growth habit, like short little petioles growing downwards. Can you kind of see? It just angles down like this. And so when it sits on a flat surface, it looks like this. It's like a tent. It's kind of charming in a way and kind of annoying in a way. Again, if the petioles were longer, it would be so annoying, but it's forgivable because the petioles are really short and the inflows are so cute. Like it always looks so tiny when it comes out, and it expands a lot. I will say it expands. I want to say it expands a bit more than other inflows. Like I just think that other ones, even other Carla hybrids, they emerge a little bit larger and they expand obviously when the spadix emerges, but this will grow exponentially. It opens up, the spathe gets really big and capey, and then the spadix will grow a lot once it's out. But the last 2 leaves on this one have been on the wider side, and they've gotten a little bit more of like a spidery appearance. I wouldn't say it's a spidery Carla, but a little bit spiderier. So it's pretty safe to say this is kind of its final look. It's quite a veiny Carla. And also I want to say thank you to anyone who's watching this right now who may have bought little seedlings from this plant. So if you are one of those people who got one, thank you. And I would love to see growth updates because I really wanted to hoard all of them, but I don't have the space to grow them all. And this also, if I had made a video on my 2024 favorites, this definitely 100% would have been on there. So the next one is a plant that I got as a just little sprout from my friend Jose. He gave it to me for Christmas 2023/4. So it's just been over a year that I've had this plant, and I'm pretty sure I did show this in a video, and I think it was the second leaf. So like the first leaf emerged, I think he must have gotten it as a seed, and it was just putting out the second leaf. So like there was nothing to be seen at that point. So that plant was a Fortune Ralphinum crossed with a Dress Carla. Is it though, or is it a Carla dress? So the story behind it is that it was a cross done between Yolanda and Dylan. And I know I can figure this out. If I ever breed this plant, I will definitely figure it out. The information's there, I just have to verify it. But when Jose first gave it to me, he said it was a Fortune Ralphinum cross with Rio Guanche Dresslerii. And then later he was like, actually it's not a dress, it's a Carla dress. Or is it a dress? What did I put on here? So whatever he told me, I put it on the tag and it says Dress Carla. So Fortune Ralphinum Dress Carla. I don't know why I'm questioning it, but I am questioning it. But for now, it's a Fortune Ralphinum cross with Dress Carla. So this plant took a little while to get going, but once it did, it's just been a delight. I've shown little updates here and there. When it started to size up a little bit more, it was growing really elongated leaves with a little bit of blister variegation, and then the blister variegation went away. So there's been a few leaves where there was no blister variegation, but then now here is the newest leaf and the blister variegation is back. It's only on the top here. It's definitely more on the back. It's a lot fainter on the back, but it does extend a little bit more here. And I just think this is just the cutest. I do not have a plant like this. Where the blister variegation, it tends to warp and contort the leaf a little bit. So it's a little bit wavy. I don't expect that the blister variegation will persist. And I actually would probably rather if it would just went away entirely because I find that blister variegation, there's very few specimens where it actually improves the look of the plant. Otherwise, it kind of just like contorts everything and it just looks like it's not very happy or healthy. Here's the leaf that was before it. It's a little bit wonky, but it has no blister variegation. I thought this leaf looked so funny. I think I said it was like a banana. And here's the leaf before that, also really elongated, no blister variegation. But here's the old leaf that had the blister right down the middle here. It's not a lot, but it's there. And I think a lot of dress hybrids have blister variegation. So this plant is definitely very heavy on the pap. It's like the mother plant, and Fortune Ralphinum is a very elongated, kind of exaggerated, pointy, and so it leans very, very heavy on the pap. I just absolutely adore this plant. It is so elongated and so dark. I kind of recently repotted it. I want to say it was maybe right after, or either right before I went on holiday or right after. I can't remember. I upgraded it from a 4-inch pot to a 5-inch pot, and it's been rooting really well in tree fern soil. I got the seedling in tree fern and pond. I think it was straight tree fern with a pond reservoir, if I recall correctly. And as soon as I could repot it out of the seedling pot, I put it into tree fern soil, and I've not looked back because it freaking loves it. And it's also put out its first flower. It is receptive right now. I'm not going to do anything with it. This leaf is still quite floppy, so it's got a bit of more expanding to do, and I just can't wait to see what it's going to look like in 2025. I feel like I've said everything I needed to say about this plant. But Jose, I know you're not watching this, but in case you are watching this, I adore this, and this was one of the best Christmas presents ever. Okay, next up are plants that I got from IAS. So IAS was September of last year. First up is my Carla that I got from the Homebody. So this one was bred by Phil from Stelmar Gardens. I actually purchased this prior to going to IAS, and I asked them to bring it to the show to pick up, and I got it from one of their Palm Street purges. I think the footage I'm showing you is in the hotel room at IAS, and I was just showing you the haul of what I picked up that day. I fell in love with this plant for the very like thin spidery veins. It was really elongated and so elegant. And I was really shocked that not a lot of people were like just snatching these up left, right, and center at the show. There was a lot of them, and I think they were around $200, $200 to $250. They were just kind of sitting there. And I don't really know why, because they all kind of look like this. They were stunning. And Phil's mother plant is just like, what is this? Like, it's so pretty. This, by the way, I'm showing you is Josh's photo. So when I first got this, I didn't know who Phil was. He doesn't really have an online presence. He's super low key, and he breeds a lot of Tim Anderson's plants and a lot of Rory's plants. So I'm really grateful to Paulina and Josh for giving me a little bit more background information, also Fabiana at Homebody. So now I know who he is, and I would definitely, like, given the opportunity to buy more of his plants, I would definitely be interested. Fast forward to today, it's not grown a ton, but this is what it looks like now, and it's so pretty. So this is only the second leaf it's grown in my care. So in the October, November, December, 4 months or so. It's only been two leaves. The roots look quite good. I don't think I've repotted since, no, this is the pot that I put it in when I got back from IAS. So I do think it can be maybe one more leaf and it'll be ready for a repot. And just to recap, this was the largest leaf on the plant when I first got it. So in the IAS footage, this is the one, and this is where it is now. This is another Carla I'm so excited to grow out this year. I don't think it's going to be as robust as my wooo-one self. It's fine. I already recognize that my expectations were set like artificially high. I feel like this pace is probably more in line with the average Carla. But one thing that I hope that it inherits from its mother is the almost like straight vertical veins and how elongated it is. But mainly from what I hear about this mother plant, I didn't see it in person, but it's massive. Like the leaves are huge, and it would just be awesome to have a massive Carla. Will I be able to do it in Canadian environment? I would argue not, because Phil's in Florida, but one can dream. I'm really just happy that in my conditions, it's growing a lot blacker than the newest leaf when I first got it, and this would have been in much higher sun, is my guess. But of all the plants that I got in IS, this I can pretty safely say is my favorite. Another goodie that I got from IS was from Paul, or Understory Oasis. I got, I believe, 3 plants from him. So this one is Pap AF, in quotations, which is possibly a Regale Napro hybrid crossed with Carla PM6. And I wasn't super sold on the plant. I thought it was interesting, but I wasn't like, gotta have it when I saw it. But then he was showing me other holdbacks that he had from this batch, and they were like, they looked a lot like Carla, but little spears, just little Carla daggers. And I was like, I want that. I want a piece of that. And it was $75, and everything at the show was cheaper than what he would have sold it on his website at the price at. So this one has been a little bit slower for me, but it definitely has been sizing up, and this is what it looks like now. And I want to say it's slower because it is double-headed, so there are 2 active growth points. This is the newest leaf on the slower one, and this is the newest leaf on the more dominant growth point. So at some point I am going to have to separate it and grow them separately. On the more dominant growth point, this was the more older leaf. Like, look how dark and spear like it is. I really hope it stays like super skinny and sharp, because I don't have any plants really like that. I'm thinking of, I don't even know what the cross is, but the Spear of Destiny, and I don't even know who made that cross. If anybody knows, please feel free to leave in the comments. But Spear of Destiny is like really long, and every leaf grows really skinny and like a spear of destiny. I think the holdbacks he was showing me was around this size. It was in a photo, so I couldn't really tell, but I want to say it was around this maturity. So I'm definitely growing a little bit slower, but the roots are good. It was planted straight up in tree fern soil when I got back. It has not been repot since. I think I'm not in a huge hurry to divide this plant. Maybe I want to see more roots. I don't really know. I feel like this one is a more of a elective repot, and I might wait until temperatures kind of warm up a little bit. Because usually I find that Anthurium don't really suffer that much in the wintertime for me in my house. And it also very well could be that I went away for 3 weeks and like the watering was very suboptimal, like the scheduling of it and the amount of it. So it really could just be that. And it's going to take like a few weeks to a couple months to get them going pretty again. And I'm just very discouraged by some plants not looking their best. But you know what? It'll get there. They're not going to die. We're just going to write it out. Although in saying that, none of that has anything to do with this plant. This plant's doing fine. So I'm just saying I'm not in a hurry to separate the 2 growth points. So the last 2 plants are King of Spades related. So this next one is from my friend Dania, and I love this plant. I show it to you guys all the time, but I wanted to show you what it used to look like when I first got it. So I think I got it in summer. Let me double check when I posted that video. It's so handy to have video timestamps and stuff. Okay, so I posted this video in April of 2024, so it's been about 9 months, give or take. So Dania had sent me and Charmaine a seedling each from her cross of King of Spades and Dresslerii. She has since tried to do this cross again, but the seeds, like, she had the same problem that I had when I try to use my King of Spades as a parent plant. It just produces rotting seeds. No matter if it's the mother or the father, it just has like a weird thing, like of producing weird seeds. I'm not saying that's always the case, but I've been having that trouble with King of Spades. And obviously due to this plant existing, it's not always the case. But when I first got the plant, it was so bumpy for being a small little seedling. The leaves were like really round and puffy and bumpy. And I was almost like, could it have been contaminated with luxurians? Because it was that bumpy, but not really. Like, I didn't actually think that, but the thought crossed my mind. And I don't remember what it was planted in when I first got it. It might have been in moss. I don't remember, but I repotted it into tree fern soil, and I've repotted it a few times since then because it is like a nonstop, robust little thing. And I have been loving it to bits ever since then. And here is what it looks like now. I mean, it is so King of Spades heavy, but just like, it's so dark. It's definitely darker than my King of Spades. It has a red little sinus and it is so cute. It is a little speckly. You're not seeing things. It is a little bit speckly. I moved it out of my tent into this exo right here. And when I got a little bit less diligent with spraying everything down, I was spraying a lot of ambient plants down pretty regularly with Safer's End All, which is Breathrin based, which also I think is discontinued, which is really sad. I went to Canadian Tire the other day and the shelf just says out of stock, and I don't think they're getting it back. But anyways, so I did get a little bit confident and I neglected spraying that down with miticide for a little bit, and mites infiltrated, but I think they're gone now. But of all the plants for it to attack, it attacked this one, which I guess because they knew it was like the most delicious plant in the whole exo. I can't tell you how much I love this plant. I love that it was made by my friend, but I also just like objectively think it's beautiful. It's round and it's like a fast grower and it's super healthy and robust. I potted this up in a 5-inch pot right before I left on holiday, so it's been like a couple of months being in a 5-inch pot. In looking at the roots, it's like not as thick as King of Spades, so I would probably treat this a little bit more like I would a Dresslerii. King of Spades I think does like to dry out a little bit more, being like really thick rooted plant, but this is like kind of on the thicker side for an Anthurium, maybe a little bit, but not quite as fat. Like King of Spades roots are, I would almost equate them to like Clarinarium roots. They're so juicy and they can hold on to a lot more water, but I just love that this one has kind of a inky blue tint, and this leaf has been hardened off already fully. Like this is fully hardened off. This is also fully hardened off leaf. It has that bluish tint as well. It's a little bit puffier. So this is going to be on caterpillar soon, and at that point I'm really looking forward to see how the leaf shape presents. I do hope it stays very King of Spadesy, but with that really dark color. I've given it pretty high light in the past, like it was in this tent in this general area, so it was kind of under, I don't know if you can see this one Braina bar here, it's not low light, and then in the exo here it's a little bit lower, but this leaf had already grown out in here by that point. It was already really dark. I would say this is not any much different than what this leaf was when it first emerged. And at the time when she sent these seedlings, she said that she had only sent it to me and Charmaine and Amanda. And since then, I think Owen also has one of these. And if anyone else has one, I would really love to see yours, because I've seen Owen's and his is so cute. His leans more to red crystallinum, I think, and mine leans a little bit more to King of Spades. I haven't seen Charmaine's anytime recently. I think hers was a little bit less bumpy than mine, because like, look at this old leaf. Look how bumpy it is. It was like really puffy. I think that was mainly the difference. The venation was quite similar, but she did say that she wants a piece of mine. So we'll probably be cutting it at some point in the future, maybe some point this year. I'm in no hurry to get new plants. At some point, we'll swap cuttings and we'll each have another specimen from this batch. And Dania, if you want to try it again, I feel like the world needs more of this, because it's ridiculously beautiful. It's so cute, so round. I love it so much. I'm actually just going to throw up a photo of Dania's red crystallinum. It's from Tazula, and it's a behemoth of a plant. It's huge. Like, there's a little bit of forced perspective going on, but not really. Like, this plant is humongous. And I don't remember if she had tried the inverse cross, so this as the mother plant and the King of Spades as the pollen plant, but I think that that would be a really good second batch. You know what I mean? But I mentioned this before, our King of Spades are, I believe, from the same era. They're from the same seller in Indonesia, Ardeum plant I've talked about a few times. And the difference between hers and mine, which is way, like it's like a microscopic version of her ginormous King of Spades, is that she says she has never ever cut hers, whereas I've cut mine probably like 5 times, and I will not be cutting it again anytime soon. So the last one is one I'm very proud of, but now that I think about it, I don't know if I showed it in a video. So this is a hybrid I did with Charmaine. This is her mother plant, the red crystal port crossed with my King of Spades. It's one of those batches where she wanted to put something on her red crystal port, and I thought King of Spades would be super fun. And King of Spades is notoriously a poor mother plant because like the yield's not great or a lot of seeds rot. I didn't think that it would be bad as a pollen parent, but it, lo and behold, a lot of seeds rotted. So whenever we collaborate on seeds, we just split it down the middle, like no questions asked. Like I take half, you take half, you grow it out, sell it, keep it, whatever you want to do, price it however you want. And I think there was like maybe 50 or 60 seeds, and we sent a couple to Dania and we kept the rest for ourselves, like split down the middle. And I think out of the seeds that I kept, there was 3 that actually germinated. 1 rotted away, so I really only have 2 plants left, and the other one is like really small. It's a lot less strong than this one. I'm definitely keeping it because I really want to grow it out. It's just going to be at a slower pace than this one, but this one is so stinking, are you kidding me? So cute. It's a little bit bleached because it lives in a closed bin under grow lights. It's really hot and steamy in there because that shelf where I grow a lot of my propagations, it's sitting right above an air vent. And this one happens to be growing on the bottom shelf, so it's right above the air vent. So the hot air is coming up, warming up these boxes, getting really, really toasty in there. It's like a sauna. It's not like as warm as a heat mat would be, which I don't use heat mats, but it is definitely toasty in there, and there's a lot of light it's getting. I am just in awe of how round it is. I'm gonna have to hold it back here so it's not getting super blown out by my softbox, but this one thankfully has been growing like fine, and it's rooting out a lot. I'm gonna upgrade this pot very soon. As soon as this leaf is hardened off, I'm just gonna get it put into like my usual 4-inch pot, and I'll probably move it out of the dome. Like I can put it in my tent or something just for a refresher. I'm sure you guys know what King of Spades looks like, but this is what the red crystal port looked like. It had a very beautiful, like kind of pebbly texture. It's like almost like elephant skin, and it had a really cute, like very symmetrical, thin veined, heart shape, stubby little lobes. But we also kind of noticed that with King of Spades hybrids, the King of Spades is pretty dominant. It's like a pretty strong, you kind of always can see a little bit of King of Spades in it. And I feel like you definitely can in this hybrid. The new leaf looks like this. I mean, of all the plants I've had a hand in creating, this might be one of my all-time favorites so far. I mean, I haven't done a lot of breeding, but this is so cute, and I just wish that we have had more. I know that the 2 that we had sent Dania were not like super strong, but they were germinating and growing, and they were starting to take off last I checked. So I am very curious to see what hers look like. But Charmaine's also looks really cute, but the other one that I have is still like not even this size, maybe like around this size, just with a little bit more color and definition. So even though it was a lot of heartaches losing all those seeds to rot, I'm grateful that I have at least this one and that little tiny backup one to grow out. I think I didn't expect it to be this cute, even as like a small baby. I guess we just can't share this with as many people, but that's okay. That's okay. There's plenty of King of Spades hybrids out there. I wanted to make one and I did, and I'll definitely try again in the future. I do have a handful, maybe like 7 or 8 Dark Phoenix King of Spades hybrids that I did with Jing, and they're growing out really cute. They're looking really puffy. I just want to see how much King of Spades is showing, but it's too early to tell right now. But I'll update you guys for sure, especially on this one and for sure on the Dark Phoenix King of Spades, because I think people are interested in seeing what they end up looking like, and I am not going to sell them right away. I do want to wait out and see the characteristics because I only have 7 or 8, so it's not like I'm hoarding 100 seedlings. But anyway, that is my list of growth updates slash growth comparisons slash favorites. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and let me know if you enjoy this format. I don't plan on doing these videos often because, like I said, it's like a lot of media in one project and it slows down my computer a lot and it's kind of agonizing to edit. But if you do enjoy it, I will do more in the future. I'll link all the people I talked about today in the description, and please go follow them on Instagram. And if they're on Palm Street, go follow them on Palm Street. And with that, I'm going to leave you. Thank you guys so much once again. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah!